Hi there, good afternoon, how's it going? Today is Saturday, November 22nd, 2025. Currently 63 degrees Fahrenheit, that is 17 degrees Celsius. A very lovely day here in Beppu City in Kyushu Island, southern Japan. So I'm going to admit at the beginning here that I'm a little bit talked out because I just filmed a whole other video in which I went inside Family Mart, Lawson, and 7-Eleven convenience stores and showed what's inside there and kind of compared and talked about the different items and stuff like that. But I'm going to post this video here first, and so you will see that other video next. But I just finished exploring the Family Mart and did a lot of talking in that one. But I'm going to do my best to make another video here while walking through the city of Beppu, a hot springs onsen city here on Kyushu Island. Show a bit more of the city in the process, including this covered market where I ate dinner last night. And as you can see, it is very quiet now. A lot of these will be opening up later. Here we got a world map. Fairly crude, but gets the idea across. Antarctica is especially massive. So I will get down to a main street down here and then walk up to the train station, which I showed in another video when I arrived, but that street down there is a little more interesting happening. Okay, so Jesus, oh, not Sao Paulo, Brazil anyways, with the Christ the Redeemer. It's not Sao Paulo, what's the Rio de Janeiro, there we go. I guess a restaurant here. A Huya restaurant. Anyway, so the topic of this video is about staying in hostels. So in a previous video then I talked about the bad snoring incident, although it was more than just snoring. The guy in the bunk next to me was just making all kinds of noise, and it was a rough hostel experience there. So I thought that I would just kind of talk about the hostel situation in general and provide some information in the course of this. So the good news for me is that no, I am not broke. That is not why I'm staying in hostels, is because I just cannot afford anything else. But I'm not rich either, and I do need to be conscious of my budget. And so it just depends a lot. Let's maybe go down this quieter street for now and then get over to the busier street. But it's a fairly calculated decision when I'm checking accommodation. The last time that I stayed in a hostel was a couple months ago at the very beginning of this trip in the Azores Islands of Portugal. That's where I started this trip that's been going for about 2.5 months now. And then I've had all private rooms since then. So I stay at hostels, I don't know, a few times a year. And there on the Azores, it was because it was just insanely expensive, you know, like $150 a night or something for private rooms. And as I was discussing, then rooms were super expensive here, in large part because it is the weekend. So today's Saturday, and so I was looking for Okay, this is a whole separate covered market area. Let's walk down here. And so I'm not quite sure why room prices are as expensive as they are, because this is my third time to Japan and I don't remember having quite as much difficulty finding reasonably priced rooms. I mean, I'm willing to pay $60 to $80 if that's what it's going to cost, and even more if that's just the way it is, what I got to do. But if I'm looking at prices and realize, okay, as is the case here, $60 for the capsule hotel where I'm staying now, which is actually a ripoff, because that exact same bunk is $16 midweek, as cheap as like $16 to $19 midweek. But because it was the weekend, the prices got jacked up. But there was kind of a weird thing when I checked in, and I'm getting on a bit of a tangent here, but that's the way it's going to be with this video, is because I have all these different sort of informational topics to discuss. Speaking of tangents, Becoming Led Zeppelin movie is playing here. I really want to see that. I wonder if it would be dubbed. That would be a shame. Not sure if I'll end up actually doing that, but anyway, so long story short, then I check in at the hostel there, and I end up kind of randomly checking the prices of the rooms there, the bunk beds, individually per night for this weekend, as opposed to the 3 nights that I booked it for. I was just kind of curious to see, because, oh, this is why. Because I go and check in, and there's almost nobody else there. I assume the higher prices was going to be because it was going to be full up on the weekend. But you saw at the beginning all those different capsules, and there were only like maybe 5 other people there last night or something. So I was kind of confused, like, okay, prices jacked up, but then it's not actually busy here. What's going on? So I looked at the prices, and the price for that capsule last night on booking.com or agoda.com was $17, and I paid $60 per night for 3 nights, so $180 for the 3 nights. And then I look for Sunday night, and again it's like $17, $18. And then I look on Saturday, and it's full Saturday, which is tonight. So I'll see if that actually turns out to be the case, if a bunch of people are going to show up. So interesting that it's super busy on Saturday night, but Friday night almost nobody there, so it's all kind of confusing. But anyways, I ended up contacting agoda.com, which is where I found that, and bringing up the issue of I was charged $60 per night, but then it's showing on the site that it's only $16. What's going on? Was I like double charged or something like that? And they just responded and said, no, just prices fluctuate. That's the way it is. So I'm not quite sure what happened there with that, if the prices changed, or if I had searched individually for each night, if I might have still found those cheaper prices. So anyways, that's just kind of some general information about the booking process. But despite the fact that I'm getting ripped off, so this is the point that I was trying to get to, even though it's expensive for a capsule hotel at $60, when I was searching for accommodation, I was looking like all over Kyushu Island, basically. I was in Fukuoka, and I wasn't finding anything reasonable there, and so I decided to look beyond Fukuoka, Nagasaki, and then I did a quick search and discovered this place, and it has the hot springs, and I was interested in experiencing some onsens. So this is the train station where I arrived yesterday. First class 2-hour train ride for $60 US. The regular class train was $45 coming from Fukuoka. Okay, so let's just continue this video wandering through the streets of Beppu here. I guess maybe find some quieter spots because there's a bunch more stuff I wanted to discuss in this video. So notice the steam there. And as you can see, it is all over. This is Beppu, where we are now, and that is the thermal hot water steaming out of the ground. So presumably some of those are onsens. Pretty cool image. All right, so the point that I'm trying to get to here is that I was searching for where to stay for this weekend when prices were all really high all over. I looked in Hiroshima, a bunch of different cities, and they were all super expensive for this weekend. So I book accommodation, most commonly using booking.com, but then also agoda.com and Airbnb. So those were the three main websites that I was using while looking for accommodation. Mostly I just use booking.com because I like the site. I am a level 3 genius, so I get 10 to 20% off of most of my bookings. It's just simple and easy. I just like the way that the site is set up. But I actually found this capsule hotel on agoda.com. It wasn't coming up on booking.com. So I was using all of those three search engines. So some people commented and said, I looked around and I was finding private rooms for like $60. The question is, were you plugging in the exact same dates that I was searching for? So November 21st to 24th. Because if you're just looking at, in general, average prices or whatever, then yes, that could be the case. Kaminoi Hotel, 3 minutes. Oh, okay, I thought it was saying this was Kaminoi Hotel, and I was thinking, oh, well, that's got to be super cheap. But it's down here somewhere. Oh, it's that big building. Anyways, if people have recommendations for other websites to use, other tips, whatever, then great, post them below. I'm happy to get some info, but if you check those three websites, you are getting a pretty comprehensive look at what is available. And if you're looking at a bunch of different cities and there's just hardly anything available, that's because there's hardly anything available. And so it's the weekend effect that was going on in this case. Okay, let's do a little random wander up here. So, despite the fact that I'm paying kind of a lot for a capsule hotel, the alternative was much, much more expensive. So, I found out about this city, did a search, and the cheapest option that was coming up was almost $200 a night. And so, booking.com has a huge selection of hotels. I think that it's the biggest website for accommodation booking, certainly one of the biggest. So if you look on booking.com and there's almost nothing there, then there really is almost nothing there. But then it's worth checking a few other sites as well, because you could find something else. But the cheapest option that I was finding here was almost $200 a night. And so that's $600 for 3 nights, whereas I paid $180. And so I saved $400 on 3 nights accommodation. So there's the answer to why sometimes I stay at hostels. That was the most convoluted tangent to finally get around to that point that I brought up at the beginning. But when I'm looking at the options and it's crazy expensive, or staying in a hostel or capsule hotel, then that is going to be a real incentive, of course. Save $400 on only 3 nights of accommodation, because I am not making the big bucks. You can see how many views I'm getting on my videos, and it's not a lot. Views are definitely down compared to a few years ago. I'm still getting by, covering costs, but if I start paying more than $100 a night or whatever, then I can very easily be going over budget and losing money. And I'm trying not to go into the losing money. So occasionally then I will go ahead and stay in a hostel. Also, partly it's just for the experience. So yes, I'm 53 years old. That is not youth. But they don't really call them youth hostels anymore. They just call them hostels. And partly that is because it isn't just for youth. There are a lot more people traveling now than back in the 70s and the 80s, including older guys like the guy that I showed at the end of the last video, Alan from Los Angeles, California, or from San Diego, I think. Anyway, Southern California, who I talked with and showed that a little bit in the video, and then I ran into him again, actually right before I headed out in the capsule area, and ended up talking with him for a good 30 minutes or something more about the area that I'm from in California, because he knows that area and stuff like that. And so he's like 75 and he's traveling. He's obviously retired. He loves this part of the world, so he was talking about he goes between Japan, Taiwan, I forget where else. He was talking about Japanese islands, Okinawa, that he likes Okinawa. Okay, so here we have some traditional style homes, I guess, or could it be an onsen maybe? It's kind of big. Anyways, he's staying in the same capsule hotel and he's 75. So I'm a youngster compared to him. So hostels have different rules, and some of them have an age limit, and you'll see in the description, nobody over 50 allowed, nobody over 40 allowed. And so when I see that, then I move on and don't try to stay there, of course. But that is actually pretty rare. And so it's up to the hostels to decide if they want it to be exclusively for younger people. And they're mostly not making that restriction. So no, I'm not too old to be staying in a hostel. If the hostel is welcoming me to stay there, then works for me. But overall, I don't want to stay at hostels very often anyways, for the reason that I mentioned, the bad snoring, and a big one is the annoyance of being restricted to a little locker to put your stuff. Not so much the small space you're sleeping in. That's one thing. I can't really fully spread out in there, especially with my day pack. I will keep inside there with all the most important stuff, my passport and everything, in here, and so then that kind of gets in the way. And so that's, you know, one annoying thing. But in addition to that, it is the having a locker for all the rest of your stuff, my big backpack, and then every time you need to go get a different shirt or go get your toothbrush, then you have to go to this locker, open it up, and you know, my stuff is just crammed in there. It's really a pain having to search through to try to find this or that or whatever. And so there are lots of reasons why hostels are not ideal, and for those reasons I won't be staying at them very often. But at least this capsule hotel is in fact much better than the hostel back in Fukuoka. It is more soundproof, as they tend to be. I didn't hear any snoring last night at all. There weren't many people around, but even if they were, it would definitely be muffled a lot more than a more typical hostel. So it's, you know, one option to save some bucks with advantages, disadvantages. Another advantage is that you tend to meet people. Met this guy Alan, fun to talk with, especially since he's from, you know, my area in California, and you never know who you're going to meet. And also partly it's just the sort of communal experience of being in a place with other people, just having other people around, then that can be kind of nice. Okay, what's going on here? Somebody's backyard. And so, to wrap things up here, am I broke? As I said at the beginning there, then no, I'm not broke, but I do have a you know, somewhat restricted budget. I'm actually in quite solid financial shape, and very, very grateful for that. But I'm also not getting the millions of views that some YouTubers are getting, and not getting as many views as a few years ago. And so as for why that is the case, that's a whole other topic that could make another video of like YouTube tips and how could I get more views, how could I shift my content in order to start increasing things and get more money flowing as a result. And I think that there are certainly things that I could do with my, you know, pretty big 600,000 subscriber following, but that's kind of a big topic and something that I will be considering more in the future. But it would definitely take some serious changing of my content to some extent, because my channel is kind of stuck where it's stuck. And after posting 3,000 videos of like every travel topic you can possibly think of, then it's going to take some creative changes to really get the algorithm's attention and shift the trajectory of where my channel is going. But anyways, that's a whole other topic. But in the meantime, then I'm covering my costs, doing all right, can't complain. You know, don't have another job, don't have another source of income at all. YouTube is covering things, and that is, you know, really like the best thing you can hope for, is this kind of a job. But it also has its limitations. So I will always, you know, reserve the hostel option in various circumstances, and very likely stay in some other capsule hotels here in Japan, since they're so nice and it can be so cheap. Next week, as I said, this place where I'm staying, which is really sweet. I mean, it seems brand new, very clean, well taken care of, and then to be only, you know, $16, $17, $18, $19 per night, I mean, then you're traveling in Japan for genuinely cheap. And so then it is worth putting up with the inconveniences that go along with the hostel and capsule life for that kind of savings on your accommodation. So there you go. That is gonna do it for this video. Tomorrow's another day. Maybe this evening I'll get over and do the onsen thing. I'll see about that, but otherwise definitely tomorrow. So more coming from Kyushu Island, Japan. See ya.